Okay, so ready for the next stage. Now we've done all this work to this picture. I used an L series lens, so my picture should be nice and sharp. But sometimes with all this editing, you end up with some things can be a little bit soft, especially on the nose, the eyes, and the lips. So the last thing I do, and I would do this particularly if I was using a kit lens or a lens that's not what you might call professional standard, because it can be a little bit soft when you look up close. So for this one, I'm going to add a little bit of sharpness, not much, just to make sure that my picture is perfectly sharp. And hopefully this will give you a little edge if you've only got cheap or kit lenses, to give your pictures a little bit more sharpness without destroying them. So again, we do a non-destructive edit. Now, before I go any further at this point, what I would say is if you want to come back to this edit at any point, if you're not finished and you don't want to lose all this work, you need to save your file as a PSD file. So if you've got a file, save as a copy, yeah, and make sure it's selected here, Photoshop PSD, PDT, PSDT file. Click OK, and then click that. If you open that file again, your layers will still be here. Okay, so make sure you save it as you go along. PSD file, save all your layers in case you want to come back and edit another day. Okay, so we're going to sharpen, live up a little bit. So what I'm going to do first is, because we can't add any sharpening to this bit here, if we add it to that, it won't work because of the mask we've put on here. So I'm going to, at this point, flatten this back down to a simple single layer, and then I'm going to add the, I'm going to add the sharpen to that layer. So again, Control Shift and E to flatten the layer like that. I'm not worried about non-destructive editing at this point, because if I make a mistake here, I've got my saved PSD file to go back to and retrieve the layers. This is the final bit I'm going to do. So I'm going to view it 100% so we can see how it looks full size. And what I'm going to do is, like all the rest of my processes, I want control. I don't want to be having to guess things, fudge things, hope things work. So I'm going to build a mask that allows me to only sharpen the bits I want to sharpen. So maybe a little bit of her hair, definitely her eyes, maybe a little bit around her mouth and her nose. And to do that, we're going to use a negative mask. We're going to use something called a negative mask based off of our red channel. So you can see over here on the left, I've got my channel set up. We've got red, we've got green, we've got blue. I'm going to use the red channel because it's the most contrasty to make this mask. I'm going to drag it down there to make a new version of it in the plus. You see that red copy there? I'm then going to invert it so it becomes a negative. Now you watch this. Control and on your keyboard and the letter I. Control and I. Bang. It's inverted. Now they've done that because when we add the sharpening effect I only want to be added to the bits that are white, not the bits that are black. Makes sense, doesn't it? Spent all that time retouching Liv's face, adding the skin blur. We're then going to sharpen that. We're going to negate what we did. So what was the point? So I only want to sharpen the bits that I've not really retouched. And you can see this kind of mimics the bits that I painted out. What I can do at this stage, though, is I want to definitely not destroy the face and only do the bits that are white. So to make that more contrasting, more dramatic, make sure you clicked on that red copy, go up to where it says Image, Adjustments, and Levels. And using this levels here on this channel, we can use the sliders to really make sure anything black doesn't get sharpened. Click OK. We've now got a really heavy duty layer mask there we can use. So to load that in, to make sure our application of sharpness only applies to those bits, we hold Control or Command on the keyboard, whether you've got a PC or a Mac, and you'll see my little pointer, if I hover it above the red copy layer, changes to a selection. If I click on that, you see how that selection is now loaded in. So I'm confident that when I go to apply the sharpening, it's only going to apply to those parts. Now, I want to see the pictures I'm doing this. I don't want to be looking at that because I can't tell how it's applied and how well it looks. So to be able to see the picture, I'm not going to deselect anything. I'm just going to click on RGB there, look. And again, you can now see where the application is going to be, which is great. Well, these marching ants, the selection gets in your way. You can't really see what's happening. So we don't want to deselect them because it makes it not work. We just want to hide them so we can't see them. So if we go to View and click on Extras or Control H, you can now see the picture. The selection is still made, but we just can't see it visually because we want to be able to see what the effect of the sharpening is. Okay? So for sharpening then, what do? We go to filter, we go to the only sharpening you should ever use, which is unsharp mask, tried and tested, and click on the preview, and we're going to look. Let's see, we'll bring live into the view. So look at 100%. Okay. Now it's defaults at 100. 100 is not enough. We're not going to bother about radius or threshold. We're just going to get the amount and drag it right across. Did you see that? Watch her hair as I drag that around. Watch. See it go? Too much. Way over sharpened. Look at that. It's horrible. But again, if we look in her eye, you can see the skin's not been affected at all because of the mask we put in. Right? It's only affecting those parts we told it to. So we want the eye to be nice and sharp. We want the lips to be sharp. I found through trial and error that 200% is plenty for sharpening eyes, nose, mouth, hair. It might change a little bit depending on the size of your JPEG, the detail of the JPEG, but I found 200% is absolutely spot on for the size and type of pictures I make. Okay? So I'm going to go with 200%. And if you just click the preview on off and just look very closely at her eyes, you can just see that little bit of pink coming. Okay? Click OK. That's now loaded in. And she's now beautifully and sharp. Her hair's sharp. Her skin's not destroyed. It's all very nice. Yeah? Beautiful. Ready for the next stage. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you hit the bell, you'll be notified of every time I bring another tutorial or podcast. Cheers.